actually had 10 seconds. He counted you down too fast.
I know.
He gave you the 3, 2, 1 when it was actually 13, 12, 11.
Doesn't want me to win.
And he doesn't want you. What is up, everybody? Welcome in to the DNVR Nuggets podcast. Presented as always by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app. Great energy over there from the birthday boy. Terrible energy over here.
I feel like this podcast benefits from a yin and yang.
That's true.
You think so?
Yeah, Brendan's excited. Obviously, it's his own birthday, which is embarrassing. Brendan, are you 8
that
years
is
old
embarrassing.
Happy for
Oh,
my own
man,
birthday.
that's so
Yeah, you
embarrassing.
know what it is.
Do we have 8 candles for him to blow out?
Oh, my goodness.
This is my last one that I can celebrate in good faith.
How old are you?
29.
No. You can celebrate the next one.
No,
the next one is the big one.
No. You're actually 8 years past that. Nobody cares.
Actually, it is true. 21, big time birthday. 30, I think, is a big one. 30 is a big one.
But
mom-
30 is not a celebration. 30 is...
No, it's not. 30 is not old, man. 30 was old back in like the 80s or 70s or 50s, you know, back when it was like, you see pictures of people.
That is the greatest thing. If you watch like an old, or you look at just old sitcoms or something, and it's like the Patty Duke Show, and the parents are like 100 years old, and they're like 27.
Yeah, exactly. That's totally right. 30 nowadays, very young. You could still celebrate it, but every birthday after that, absolutely miserable.
My mom texted me this morning to tell me she didn't get me anything.
Well, I mean, what do you want, though?
I know.
At that point, like,
I didn't
when you
ask
get
for
to-
anything. I
You
didn't
get to a
ask
certain age.
For love, just the one time.
No, I know better than that.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
come on.
Yeah, no receipt right there.
It's true. The older it gets, like, what do you want for your birthday? To be left alone.
Yeah.
Here's how it goes. You're like, when you're young, everything is made for you and everything's cheap. So you get everything for the most part.
That's true.
G.I. Joes,
That's true.
Hot Wheels. Then as you get older, all of your wants become too expensive to ask for.
That's so true.
so
yeah.
true.
That's a
and
great
then you
point.
stop wanting anything at all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so great.
What do you
Thanks,
want?
guys.
A couch? Can you like a
Yeah,
new
yeah.
couch?
You're like a mortgage. Can I have a
Lumbar
mortgage?
support? Yeah.
A couch is a great one. Like, you do want a couch.
Sure
a good
do.
couch would make a big deal. Guys, I got Eric Weedham with me.
Hey guys, very excited to be here. Hear that it's Brendan Vogt's birthday. Looking forward to celebrating that all day long. I haven't stopped thinking about it since I found out when he himself said happy birthday to himself in our company Slack.
It is funny that it fell on a Tuesday, though. Like,
I know, not much to
what
that.
can you do? It's like far enough away from last weekend that you can't do.
Yeah.
It's far enough away from the upcoming
Taking the
weekend.
upcoming weekend off.
So you're
but-
doing it in the next one. Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah.
And then
Birthday
Brendan Vogt.
observed.
I will say, I do like that you wore a, especially for on the camera, a skin-colored shirt.
Thanks.
Because like if you just glance, it looks like you're shirtless.
Yeah, we've been over this before, actually.
You've worn that shirt?
I have.
Did I make that same comment?
Yep.
I hope.
Exactly how it went.
I hope. There's nothing I hope more that one day you look in the mirror and your skin looks as wrinkled and baggy as this shirt does, and you're like, "Am
Can
I
you
wearing a
imagine?
shirt?"
I don't look well. What are we talking about today on the show?
This.
Oh, right.
We're talking about a variety of things. This is a little bit of a variety show because I kind of we've been doing some like season recap stuff. We've been doing some different topical things. Obviously, Jokic won the MVP. There's like some little random things I just want to talk about. I just want to discuss.
Okay.
I want to belly up to the bar here and just
right.
have a little bit of bar talk.
Let's use our platform, huh?
Yeah.
Let's use our platform to do that. First thing I want to talk about, though, I mean, the NBA playoffs are in full swing. I'll be honest, man.
Swing.
If you ask me, like, of all the sporting events I'm watching right now, what am I most tuned into? Avs.
Of course.
Like, I'm just like, the Avs are so fun, especially because they just dominate. I mean, what if they scored a goal in the first, like, 3 minutes of every single game in the first round? It's not, usually, if you're, like, not a hockey guy, like I am not, you're like, all right, well, first period, fill them out. You know, no shots on goal. Second period, we'll start to get into it. No, Avs are like, first 20 seconds, it's like 7 shots on goal.
So I'll tell you quickly. As you know, I've said this many times before. I used to be a bigger Avs guy than I am currently.
Oh, yeah.
That's wild to me.
And the way that it happened was that I followed a successful cup run.
Yeah.
And once that happens, and once you actually see, because the Avs right now have started off like they have every season for the
It's so
last
true.
3 seasons, where they just run roughshot over the first
Yeah.
round, and it's like, oh man, this team's never going to lose another game, and then they just run into an absolute buzzsaw in the second round. But so if we're able to see, like, the Stanley Cup playoffs are as arduous a tournament as any that you'll ever witness because of just how absolutely random hockey is.
Yeah.
So the Avs are going to like go through some tough times coming up here, and it's fun to like you go. I mean, you know what it's like.
Can I
right?
tell you though, like when you're not as emotionally invested, like, look, if the Avs lost, I would be disappointed, but I don't think I would lose sleep over it. You know, it's just like my level of emotional investment that I have in it. Unlike with the Nuggets, where it's like, man, like you're thinking about it every single second, or this or that. I gotta say, I'd prefer they win 7-1 every game. It's like there's nothing for me. The most fun I can have right now is not in good hockey. It's in like, oh, let's get another one of those fun goals. Let's do that again. That's where I'm at.
I had a very strange parlay last night. Live bet Avs while they were tied and Warriors down 8 to Memphis in the first quarter. I went on a real roller coaster in that one, dude. The third period and fourth were fun.
But I am obviously watching the NBA playoffs because I just love basketball and there's a lot of interesting things going on there.
I guess we should.
Yeah, so we should talk about this. So I want to talk about some of the takeaways we have from the playoffs so far. First, a little bit later in the show, we're going to talk about the guy missing from the playoffs this year, LeBron James. I had to remind you that because you didn't even think about it. We've so little thought about LeBron James. That's going to be segment 2. But first, just the playoffs, like the NBA playoffs. I'll start with you, Vogt. What are some like your big takeaways from the playoff? Every year you learn something about the league, the direction of it, or this or that in the playoffs. What are some of those things for you so far, or things that are catching your attention?
Well, I definitely want to double down on the parity thing, which I think we all felt like we were moving in that direction. And
I love this.
The Suns, who were the best regular season team, 2-2 right now. So you're not really looking at any team thinking like there were a lot of years where some of those teams, particularly those Golden State teams, it's like, well, I guess I hope they miss a shot. I mean, I don't know.
Right.
But right now it does sort of feel like every team has its flaws. Right when you feel ready to crown a team kind of invincible, having turned a corner, the next game seems to go real differently. So
this is great stuff.
I'm just really enjoying. I think right now people don't know who's going to win this tournament. They really don't.
Yeah.
And in a way that was kind of true last year is particularly true right now. And I like that direction for the league.
Yeah.
So I want to build off of one thing you said rather than throw to Eric here. I want to build off. Maybe you could comment on it. Good save us all, man. Yeah, wow.
He's in a mood today.
You're talking about the Phoenix Suns because to me they were the juggernaut, like them and the Celtics. But the Celtics felt more like we haven't seen them do it for long enough. The Suns have been good now for 2 full seasons.
Correct.
What's interesting, that series is the one that maybe I have the strongest opinions on because they got lost big in Game 1. They got blown out and humiliated in Game 2. Like, if you stopped it after Game 2, like, if you just looked at the takes, it was like, this is headed for a sweep or maybe a gentleman. Maybe the Suns let their foot off the gas. An interesting thing happened. A couple interesting things happened, but one interesting thing to me, and that is that Luka got off ball just a little bit more. He still dominates, but it was one of those things where it's like, maybe it's best if our best player doesn't have the ball every single possession for 20 seconds. But more to the point, it makes me think of last year. Nuggets get blown out in Game 1. Get blown out in Game 2. Guess what you couldn't do? Go to anyone else. Like, there was no option of like, well, Will Barton, put Yoke in the corner. We're going to use him as a decoy or this or that. But it does, if you have Jamal Murray, it does do this. And I watched that series and I go, man, if you watch Games 1 and 2, you thought Dallas has no hope in this series. It's amazing how you could put pressure on a team and all of a sudden an entire series changes complexion. That to me is like one of my big takeaways here is all these invincible teams, the last 2 seasons, full seasons and playoffs have been defined by teams not being whole. When you see Dallas is a good, not great team in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Even a good, not great team gets to challenge them on their terms and all of a sudden things go so differently.
Yeah, it is funny, like getting just Jalen Brunson.
Yeah, Jalen Brunson.
You get one running mate, it changes the entire thing. I mean,
I like Jalen Brunson, though. You said that a little too dismissively because I think he's actually...
Okay, whatever.
But he's not a star, right?
He's not. Yeah, he's not better than Jamal Murray.
No.
So it is nice when... I mean, that second game was so unwatchable. Like, watching Luka just go ISO on every play. I mean, I was putting stuff up, like, what it must be like to be his teammate at that time.
Yeah.
You're just standing in the corner like... All right, can you just like make a noise when you're done, and we can run down to the other side? Just as soon as you're done shooting, like
throw your hands in the air.
Yeah, just like make because I don't even want to open I want to close my eyes during this time. If that's cool. For me, I just think that the Warriors are back. Like when I'm watching this, like I do. I expected that Memphis series to be a sweep by the Warriors, and it's going to be a gentleman's sweep.
Right.
And it was only not a sweep because of some late heroics.
Yeah.
But I just mean, like, I think that the Golden State Warriors are going to run through the league.
Man, we'll debate that next here, but I do want to stick. Do you have just kind of the thoughts on the Phoenix Suns? Because the Phoenix Suns have looked like juggernauts, man. They've smacked everybody outside of the Warriors. The Warriors are the one team that psychologically has had their number.
I'm saying, like, I watched them in the regular season when they went up and they were at full strength, and that was an absolute battle. It was a battle that the
Warriors aren't at full strength
won.
though. Hold on, we'll get back to why they're not.
Phoenix hasn't been quite where they were defensively in this postseason. Part of it is the adjustments you mentioned, and by the way, these last 2 years from the Denver perspective, just so handcuffed in that, if you were limited to one guy, you might take Jokic offensively ahead of anyone in the league. But even in that scenario, you never just want to be limited in that way. You need to have other ways to turn. But Phoenix to me in the regular season looked like a team that had figured modern basketball out. They knew exactly what they wanted to do. You couldn't make them do anything else. And you're right that this series, 2 games in, it looked done. It looked like the series I wanted to watch the least.
I still think it's done, though.
Maybe, but...
Maybe. Here's the thing about Phoenix, though. They haven't been tested. They remind me so much of the Warriors in 2015, where they were both very good, but also just didn't get punched in the mouth because nobody was good enough to do it. And I think that this year, for the last 2 years... Last year, no question, Lakers, hobbled LeBron, lost Anthony Davis, couldn't test him. Nuggets, no Jamal Murray, couldn't test them. Then they get to the Clippers, right? You just kept going against teams that were missing key guys all the way up until they got to the Bucks. As soon as they got punched, what happened? They lost 4 in a row. And I just look at it and I think maybe they are better than this. Like, sometimes teams learn. I actually think championship teams, especially first-time champions, they don't become champions until the playoffs, meaning they don't become the best version of themselves until they get that test. And this is what's happening, I think, with the Suns right now. So you say you still think it's over. I think logic tells us that's probably right on talent. But the thing is one, Chris Paul has a 17-year reputation in this league of being the exact guy that when this moment happens, he just loses it a little bit. One of it, he's so intense, and that intensity is really good when the stakes are medium, because it's like, okay, everybody responds to it. But then all of a sudden when the stakes are really high and everybody's tense, his little yelling at everyone just is like, you shut the F up. Why don't you play a little better defense?
Yeah, they're like, stop trying to hug my mother.
Yeah. But also,
not touching that one.
Well, that turns out that's what you're supposed to do.
Look, maybe the rest of the context for that interaction was that Chris Paul was having a stinker and they were down and it was late. Just saying.
I don't know.
I don't know what he did or didn't hear, but I do think there's something to that. I was going to say that as well, that we haven't seen how they respond when it gets tight. We don't know what it's like for them to tighten up. Chris Paul has looked fallible. Every other night he's also looked awesome, but we're seeing.
Yeah, man.
I don't know. They have the point cracks in that armor, right?
Well, of course, and this is what's funny. This is what's both great and not great about the Suns. I don't think outside of the first round, I don't think they'll have the best player in any series they go up against. Like, if they go up against the Warriors next one, it'll be Steph Curry. You got this one. You could argue this one they do. Actually, no. Luke is the best player in the series. I'm sorry, they don't have it even in this one. And then obviously if you make it to the finals, likely you're either going to be playing a Giannis or an Embiid or maybe even a Jason Tatum, who I would put Jason Tatum at least right there with their guys. So they're not. The thing is, they're going to have the best 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th best players on their team. And that's why they've had Ayton win them a game. They've had Chris Paul win them a game in this playoffs. They've had Devin Booker win them a playoffs, and those things are all huge. But guess what? This is where the Michael Porter dream really comes into play. We've seen Jokic win them playoff games. We've seen Jamal Murray win them playoff games. If you just get one, was it game 1 or 2 that the Suns got in this series where it was Ayton? He was freaking unbelievable. If you just get one game in a series where Michael Porter actually wins it for you, not contributes you to winning, you expect him to help contribute every game. But if you just have one game where it's like, yeah, that was the game Michael Porter went 8 of 10 from 3. And they won that game even though Jokic was a little off and Murray got in foul trouble. They still won it because Michael Porter was 8 of 10.
Game 6, right, against Portland is the closest we have. And it definitely felt that way to me. Yeah. It definitely felt that way.
Yeah, this is...
Was it game 6 or game 5?
I don't know.
I think it might have been game 5. The Jokic assist to the corner, Porter puts it away, but he was I think he was 10 of 12 in that game.
He had a huge first half.
I will say, that game, as good as it was, not quite what I'm talking about here. I still think Porter has another level to him.
I know what you mean.
It is. It's just the thing that we have to return back to every single time. And when you look at other teams, what learnings you can have from them, and it's you just need a lot of options. You just need to have more than one guy doing everything. The Denver Nuggets have been have exited in disappointing fashion 2 years in a row. There's one common denominator unifying those 2 years. It is that Jamal Murray was not a part of either one of those playoff runs. Very important piece of the team.
Yeah.
In more ways than we can even probably quantify.
Yeah.
And it's so frustrating. I mean, this is the purgatory concept. It's just like, okay, how critically can we look at this team right now? Like, can we? I guess you have to, because that's just the exercise of watching an NBA team and analyzing what it is you're being given. Can that squad that you're seeing on any given day, perform, and can they solve the chess match that can be an NBA game? But really, at the end of the day, it's like, man, this, in the long form view of the Denver Nuggets, it's just these last 2 seasons have been about Jokic getting his flowers, his ascension to becoming not from a demigod to a full-blown god, or just God.
Full-blown God.
Not a god, just God. I guess you don't have to have the for that.
Also, full-blown always reminds me
Yeah, I
for some
understand.
reason of AIDS.
Yeah, it sure does.
It's the only context I
How
hear
are you?
full-blown.
How are you comfortable diving right into AIDS,
Yeah.
but not talking about Chris Paul's mom being hugged?
Well, because it's what one's more recent, the other one's a little
I
more
see.
abstract.
AIDS are over.
I'm
One-
just saying
one will get you
full-blown
yelled
is
at.
usually the precursor
You're
to.
right. There are certain terms, although those two things are not inextricably linked. Just
Okay,
FYI,
all right.
full blown can be used for any number of things.
All right.
Like a full blown hug on Chris Paul's mom, as an example.
An unwanted full-blown hug. We need more context to that. I'm not saying I don't know who heard what. I would be upset too if I heard my family was involved. But it is really funny how everyone half raised
dude.
their pitchforks and then went, unwanted hugs? Okay.
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't-
because like when you hear that, Adam, sit this one out.
Yeah, I'm like, I'll let you guys handle this
So
one.
when you
I
hear the
don't
phrase-
have enough information.
when you
on
hear
this
the
one.
phrase
Neither
"put
do I.
hands on,"
and the stakes are like way too high for me to like make light of this thing.
when you hear
Yeah, you
"put
can make
hands
light
on,"
of
somebody put hands on my mother. I'm like, oh, like
I know.
put hands on
the
like
first
Curtis
time
Blades.
Yeah, the first time I ever heard "put hands on" the person, I remember the moment very vividly.
Was this about AIDS?
It was not that.
Okay.
It was the J.R.
We're
Smith
live.
popcorn incident. Kenyon Martin is
Oh,
the
my
first
God.
person I ever heard say, "I will put hands on him." That was his retort when he went to his car. He said,
Yes.
"Tell me who it is. I will lay hands on him." And I kept thinking like a pastor.
Right, like I will
heal him.
I will grant him
Yeah,
safe
not quite
passage.
like that.
Yeah, it wasn't quite like that. All right, we got to hit our first break.
I was also joking too, to the huge Chris
Vogt, are
Paul
you ready for the break?
apologist. Yeah, I am actually.
So we're going to hit our first break. On the other side, we're going to continue. There's other takeaways that we need to get to from the playoffs, as well as discuss LeBron James. Not needed. Not needed. Not missed.
Yeah,
In these
need
playoffs.
not apply.
Breckenridge Brewery is the official
The
beer of
hell-
DNVR. Beers are on tap. Regular seltzers are being...
He's going to be loud. He's like, no, it won't be loud. Mike's away from me. They can't hear me.
I can hear you. I'm still doing the read. Breckenridge Brewery is the official beer of DNVR. Beers on tap and regular seltzers are being sold in the bar. You guys know we love our Breck beers at DNVR. Have you heard about the score 2 for a brew with the Avalanche Amber Ale deal? What's better than the Avs scoring 2 goals in the first period? How about a free beer, Eric? On game days,
man.
start your Avs game with an Avalanche Amber Ale at any bar or restaurant and save that receipt, because if the Avs score 2 or more goals in the first period, Breck Brew will pay for your beer. Just upload your receipt to breckbrew.com. And whether you're looking to have an Avalanche, a Mile High City Capolaga, a Strawberry Sky, doesn't matter what you're trying to have. If you want to know where to find it, use the Breck Beer Locator. It's a really convenient tool that tells you where the beer is. That sounds cool, right?
That is
yeah,
cool,
I think
bro.
we're all on the same page about
Hell
that.
yeah.
I use the eBird app. It tells me where all the birds are located. It's like the beer locator for birds.
Brandon, please proceed.
The NBA playoff action is nonstop at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. That's the National Basketball Association. This week, new customers can bet just $5 on any team to win and get $150 in free bets if they do. Looking to turn a small bet into a big payday during the NBA playoffs? Well, with DraftKings same-game parlays, you can do just that. I did a little bit of that last night. Create your own parlay by combining multiple bets, like which team will win, total threes made, total rebounds, and more. Boom, you have a shot at an even bigger payout. Right now, all customers can place a same-game parlay with 3 or more legs and get a free bet back up to $25 if one leg doesn't hit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Use promo code DNVR. Bet $5 on any NBA team to win their game and $150 in free bets if they do. That's promo code DNVR only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. Colorado only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit. Restrictions do apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
Great job.
All right, we'll get back here into some more playoff takeaways. You mentioned the Warriors. Here's the thing about the Warriors and why I'm not convinced that they are ready for number one. I don't know how well they're going to defend at the top levels. I mean, let's be honest. This is my take, my official take on that Nugget series. They surprised Denver with that lineup in games 1 and 2, bludgeoned them. After that, Denver caught up to them in the series in games 3, 4, and 5. Each game was separated by one possession. Like they came down very, very close. It ended up going 2-1 against Warriors' favor. But again, Denver very short-handed. The fact that they beat Denver in those games, the version of Denver that was out there, not that impressive. Guess what? The Grizzlies series has looked the exact same.
Yep.
Very, very close. Now, here's where the Warriors deserve an enormous amount of credit. They are tried and true. They know how to close.
Yep.
The game gets close, and I don't think it's a coincidence. That's why I don't want to totally just dismiss, like, oh, it was a coin flip game. They win the coin flip games more often than most teams do.
They're not coin
flips. By the way, Phoenix Suns do as well. They have this, 51-0 record when they're leading going into the fourth. That's an impressive and meaningful record. But nonetheless, I'm still saying that this Warriors team is not like those previous ones where they were like, oh my God, they're smacking the hell out of everyone. And more importantly, they no longer have a defensive lineup. They just don't. Gary Payton was the only guy they could plug in around their core members that made them a defensive lineup. Now you look at it and you're like, who is it that they're going to go to, Damian Lee? Like, they don't have guys they don't have the options now. And they're going to need that when they face Chris Paul and Devin Booker, should they face those guys, because that's a team that has two of that ilk that can punish them. And I just don't see it happening. So that's why, to me, I and also you could say the same thing about the Celtics, by the way. They're going to need more guards if they were to go that far. So to me, I think they're really good, but they just have the weaknesses now.
Everybody has weaknesses, though. That's the thing. Is that their
like
strengths.
that, though.
Well, we're not saying what we feel about it personally. I'm saying, like, I believe that the Golden State Warriors have the fewest weaknesses, or at least the strongest strengths to counteract any weaknesses that they have. I'm watching them do to the Memphis Grizzlies, who were great all season long, and they are doing exactly to them what they did to the Nuggets. Like, you're saying that is, a way to sort of like undermine what it is that they're doing. But to me, it's just that they are good enough to go off in ways where they can just stagger their opponent, and then whether or not the opponent comes back, at the end of the day, it's always Steph. Always have Steph there to close the door.
He was, by the way,
not coin flip games.
By the way, he was spectacular, and this needs to be said because this really is, like, fair or not, the Warriors were bad. That was a terrible game yesterday. I was watching most of the Avs game. Every time I flipped it over, I was like, good God, this game sucks.
Yeah.
But it was terrible until the fourth quarter when Steph Curry made every shot he put up, and this is the big thing. And like we've seen Vogt do it and this or that. But it is impressive that was a team that was like, okay, this is the point where we have to be locked in, and they were so locked in.
That's who they are.
Yeah, like, could they be feeling pressure at this, with all they've been through together as a group?
No.
Or are they just like, things click, okay, we know what
they're
to
like,
do
oh, it's
together.
time to win now. And then they just win.
Feel that way.
Like, that's what the Warriors would do. They would go, they'd have 2 quarters where you're like, oh man, this team is mortal. And then the third quarter happens. You're like, why are we playing this? Like, what is this? We're done with 50 points?
I don't think they're that good, though.
I do agree with Adam with the defensive stuff. And I think a big part of it is that's where Clay is not Clay anymore to me, coming back from these injuries. Sure. He is that.
He also has the same green light that he's always had, but like
right now
it should probably be more of a yellow light.
Can you whatever? I don't want to blown.
What were you gonna say?
Just like I know Denver's defense was so bad, but they also hit everything they put up in those first 2 games.
Might be a little more connected.
I
know that sometimes it's connected because they didn't make them uncomfortable, but they also shot like 45% uncontested. Anyway, it's over.
Because they're the Warriors.
But a big part of it is that Clay is, you can't just throw Clay on elite guards necessarily. Like, guys are turning corners on him now, and so I think that is true. I do, but I think Eric's onto something with the idea that there are a lot of groups that are still sort of figuring out who they are, how they react in this environment, and Golden State tried and tested, right?
Yeah. So it's interesting, nonetheless, just like looking at those teams and kind of wondering. One thing I wanted to talk about, though, was LeBron James hasn't been in this, and I think it's been freaking unbelievable.
Oh, it's a breath of fresh air.
Here's the thing. He dominates the conversation in the NBA. He really does. It's the easiest, like, if you think about what gets people's attention, it's things that make you angry or polarize you. So it's like there are 2 sides to this. Anytime, if you create a conversation that has 12 sides, people are too confused. Like, I don't know. There's too much nuance here. I don't know.
That's
Which side am I on?
A two-party system here.
Yeah, you just need that. Well, I'm saying
So like a third option.
yeah, this is too
no,
much.
Thank you.
Is it more this or that guy? It's like it's the third direct. No, where is he on the binary scale? No, but this is how it is, and LeBron is the ultimate guy of this. Like, it's so easy to be like, are you pro or anti-LeBron? And then we can form every narrative around there just goes into the, like, are you on this side or that side of the LeBron debate? He hasn't been there. And I think the NBA, and in particular their media partners, have really struggled with the LeBron-lessness of this entire season. I think it's part of why the MVP conversation has been so toxic, because we've always had the, like, top dog versus everyone else, and we just don't have that right now. But LeBron being gone, to me, you mentioned the first thing you said, Vogt, was, oh, the parity. It just seems like we don't know who's going to win. I think everybody actually loves this.
Oh, definitely.
And I think this is what LeBron represents is over the last 7 years, he's tried to stack the deck so that it's always him versus the field. And I think this is the first time when we're like, wow, there is no one versus the other. It's now like eight different groups going at it. And it's really actually refreshing once you stop to think about it.
Well, it's funny because, I mean, you're presenting that like it's a systemic change, but it's really like he's just that goddamn good. He's just like LeBron James is good enough that he can change the landscape of the NBA all the time.
Strong disagree.
By his simple presence, he's able to get people to. I mean, there are players that are. I mean, Kevin Durant does not have the gravity that LeBron James does. Nikola Jokic does not have the gravity that LeBron James does.
Well, they both did a really bad job this year of building their teams. To me, this is the thing about LeBron. It doesn't take anything away from it. It's really hard to be on a title contender for 20 years. It's really hard.
Totally.
Unless you create that contender and just jump from city to city doing it, which is what he learned. He's like, I can go to Miami and have a 4-year window. I go back to Cleveland. But my point on this is, the reason I'm disagreeing with you on this is because we could see Giannis do this. Like, we could see Giannis win this year and next, or contend this year and next, and then be like, man, you know what? The Bucks cap sheet's a little effed. I'm gonna go to Golden State, open it up for another couple windows, and then we'd be sitting here talking about, man, Giannis ran the league for 10 years. I don't know. Me, that's the window dressing to LeBron that's been lifted a little bit. He's a great player, but I think his championship, not even wins, just his contention would have been significantly less assured if it wasn't a constantly stacked team.
Right. But again, like Kevin Durant just attempted this. It's not just like
he did a bad job of it.
Yeah.
So did LeBron.
Well, yeah, but LeBron was able to do it, and it wasn't like he was just getting always elite talent around him. There were a lot of times where it was like Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving, the common denominator there. But it's like it's like, oh man, I'm glad the league finally stopped with all that LeBron stuff. It's just like, no, his time has passed. Like, that's what's happened. Like he's just not as good as
that last part. I'm not so sure about.
I agree with Eric. I mean, like, we can say the stack the deck thing, and everyone can try, but there were also years where it was just him and Jeff Green and. And like they still went to the finals because LeBron was
now we know is amazing that you can go to the finals with Jeff Green.
Yeah, that's impressive.
It is unbelievable.
Jordan Clarkson.
We should give.
We should.
I'm not trying to take anything away from LeBron. What I'm saying,
I get what you're saying.
Well, what I'm just saying is that we're seeing the parity that I think always existed, minus the one super team that stacked the deck.
Precisely.
And now you take that out, and all of a sudden it's like, look at all of these interesting styles and personalities and this or that. And while the league, I think, struggled for the longest, I do wonder if the league's media partners are looking at, one, ratings are up for this playoff. I don't know if you guys see it. Yep. I wonder if they're looking at this and going like, were we wrong that we needed to talk about LeBron all the time?
Right. I think we're talking about the basketball as much in this playoff run as I can remember.
Yeah.
There is some stuff with the Golden State Memphis series, and referee, coaches talking about referees.
Oh yeah, we're talking about referees
and all
a lot,
kind of
for
crap.
sure.
But there's a lot of how do these matchups play out, and a lot of that is driven by the fact that we have more to talk about because conclusions don't feel foregone, and I think that's huge. I also think that the biggest threat to this wave of parity in the last 2-3 years was what the Brooklyn Nets tried to do. And it's such a gift. I don't take it for granted that thing flamed out in spectacular fashion, at least to date, that they did not get to represent that super team, and that it almost feels like, in a way, maybe the league has sort of passed that formula by a little bit.
Yeah, I hope so. And if any of the media members are wondering if you've been covering the league wrong, let me assure you, yes, you have. You've been doing it so wrong for so long in such a spectacularly disastrous way.
Well, it's funny that Nick Wright is like the number one guy on this because he's the biggest LeBron guy, right? Because I think in Nick Wright, first of all, I don't think he's earnest. This is why I don't get bothered by him. Everybody wants to go at him all the time. I don't think he's earnest. This is a wrestling heel. He just knows the wrestling formula of this, of where do I create the hardest take that I could argue the easiest, and then people are going to get so riled up over it. But I think where that job is made easier is when you do have the singular guy. Like I could say it's LeBron's league. He's the best player. Everybody's chasing him. And then when they win, nothing is better than when you could say, why did Jordan win in 96? He wasn't going to let his team lose. It's after the fact it's true, but you erase every other context. You're just like, he just was the best guy and he refused to let anything else happen. It's like, okay, we don't need part 2 of the story. We already have the only part that matters. Yeah. When you take that away, though, then now you have to get into the nuance. We suck at it. And now, like, you get this chaos. And this
but here's the thing is that, like, everyone understands how to talk about other sports in a way that is not the way that the NBA talks about its sport. They're able to talk about teams and storylines and actual play and actual rivalries that appear and things that are not like so sophomoric and so juvenile. I hate the NBA. I cannot stand the NBA, but I love the Nuggets and Jokic more than I love anyone on this earth, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do about that. Can the Nuggets move to a Euro League or something? Like, what am I supposed to do?
Do you think the league belongs to any individual, or is it like, is there a new wave that's coming through right now? Like, where is the league right now? Because you have some different generations vying right now.
That's my favorite part. First of all, we got a back-to-back MVP that a lot of people are reluctant to even put in that category. Yeah. So I think you do. LeBron lasted so long. You know, it was KD got next. KD never really got next.
Hey man, well, part of this is the injury. When he was at the exact point, when he should be the one. And honestly, if you get a three-peat, which they were on the cusp of doing, then maybe like people would have said now, even though as ugly as it was, going to Golden State and doing it, it still I think would have been a thing where it's like we would have looked back and been 2006, 17 or whatever, but it didn't quite happen. And then this year, I'm telling you, this was the year that I think cemented it for KD.
I agree.
It wasn't just that he lost.
And by the way, while I think the bubble was all weird, including the stuff that benefited us, in the meantime, LeBron did get another one. So it never really was fully handed to KD. Now it's to the point he lasted so long that then it was the Jokic and Giannis types. They're in their primes now. They're 27, 28. And I think we've got a new wave in already.
Who else is in that generation? It's the 3 MVP candidates. It's Giannis. First of all, I think Giannis goes he has to be 1A. I know people are going to get mad at me for that, but he won a title. I have to have the respect for the guy that actually got it done, even if it wasn't Jokic's fault. Like, he lost his teammates. But I still just like, you know what's going to happen? Jokic's going to win it. Win the title next year, people are going to be like, it's Jaws League. And we're going to be like, what the hell's wrong with you guys? So I have to give it to Giannis for the fact that he had 50 points in a closeout championship game. Like, he's 1A.
It would be him, if anyone. But even still, in that time, another guy just went back-to-back.
Well, what I'm saying, what I'm saying is the generation. I'm just trying to establish the generation. And I do think there is a micro-generation that is Giannis and Jokic. Those guys all kind of exist. I don't know if there's anybody else in that generation.
Is that Tatum?
No, because I think he's the next one. Like, then you go to Luka, Tatum, Jamal, Booker. Like, there's this other, there's this other group of a next one who is arriving.
But KD is probably part of that initial generation.
No, because KD's old. I know you're right about this because Jokic, 27? But KD's like 31.
He's older.
It's another micro generation. He's
kind of in
that
between.
Involves Harden.
You know what it is, man? I think someone just said this in the chat. It's the Euros. You had the 3 Euros, the 3 Euro bigs that just kind of ran rampant. And now you have this next wave too. Luka's in that. Tatum, who still somehow, is he really 23 still?
Yeah, he's like really young.
That feels like a bit, but he's still a child. So that, working my way to the actual answer to your question, I don't think it's any one person's league, and I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
I agree.
It's oppressive when it's one person's league. If you're not down with that dude.
Yeah. Can I tell you though? This is the thing. If you go to the 80s, Magic and Larry. Yep. You go to the 90s, Michael Jordan.
But you mentioned 2 guys the first time.
Yeah. Okay, but sometimes there's room for 2 guys. Like sometimes
if there's like a rivalry, that's interesting. If it's just like I'm sure I wasn't old enough to have full consciousness of the nuance of the plight that the Detroit Pistons were on, and whether or not Michael Jordan being the dominant force in the league was as obnoxious as the LeBron James era has been.
Right.
But that sucks. You know, like that. It's like especially when you spend all of your time following a team that is not part of the conversation, generally speaking. You're like,
Sure.
why am I doing this? Why do I love this as much as I do? Am I stupid? Yes,
I'm telling you, man, this whole debate that we're seeing against like a player should have a vote. First of all, players vote on like awards internally.
Oh my
and
God,
and like
it's a
this year
mess.
TJ Warren got a vote.
Yeah.
Like who one is not very good and two didn't play. But somehow there's like player you want to talk about people that give terrible
Dude, there's so many players that don't even like basketball. I swear to God.
Right. Well, sure. But
Playing it, not
my
watching
point
it.
is, I don't think that's a solve. But my bigger point is, I don't think that that's the right conversation. I think that we've come to this as in like, oh, we have screwed up because we've screwed up the MVP and real hoopers know and this or that. And I think what it more is let's all step back and realize that for 30 years we've been telling ourselves the wrong story about the rabbit and the chase, right? Everybody's chasing the one guy. And we're at a point right now where it is not the case. And it is a prime opportunity for the media, meaning us, everybody else, to change the way that the NBA is looked at. Do I have faith that it's going to happen? More so than I think people would realize. Because I think this season is one that's smacking everyone in the face of like, look how cool it is that we
I
actually have
agree.
these different styles and storylines.
And there's so much talent spread out throughout the league right now
Right.
that you could. I mean, obviously, we would love to see a deep Nuggets run. Jokic, in my opinion, of course, every bit of deserving of that back-to-back MVP run as one could be, goes out in the first round. The league's okay. They could
Right.
lose Giannis in the second round. They'll be fine. There's just enough interesting teams and players.
What's
to
the
keep
worst
turning
Final
to.
Four you could put in that would really screw the league? It's definitely the Miami Heat.
Yeah, which, by the way, is a
maybe-
1 seed.
Milwaukee's compelling because of Giannis, like alone,
Giannis.
like he alone. Boston is compelling because they do have an interesting team, interesting style.
Philly-
It's Boston though. It's Miami and Boston because those games would be like 78
Sure.
to 81. You go to the other side. I'm a hater. I think Dallas is really boring to watch.
too.
Like
Me
I
too.
just don't find them that interesting. I don't hate any other guys. I just think their style is boring.
Yeah, they're totally boring stuff.
And then, of course, it's not going to happen, but Memphis. If you got those four teams, I do think this would break the mold where it's like, man, I don't know. Because all those teams have like flaws that are pretty obvious.
That's true. But, and here's the last point I wanted to make on this. There's been so little legacy talk this postseason. And I
beautiful.
Thank God.
A big part of it, Giannis got that crap out of the way. And I'm sure, he still does have a say in this because
Yeah.
another finals MVP, and we have to have even another conversation about him probably. Steph, if he is able to come back and get another one when it seemed like that was all done.
Right.
But for the most part, we're not relitigating this stuff after every game.
Thank God.
There's just
You're right.
basketball to
That
talk
is the
about.
LeBronification of the NBA.
Yeah.
It's like game 2 of the first round they
now
lose.
has
And
he
what does
caught
it mean?
MJ?
Like,
Yeah.
would MJ have lost game 2 of round 1? There's no
See,
way he would have.
The only thing that I have to say about that is that all of that energy that's pent up is now going towards the MVP.
Exactly. It's so true. This was my point.
That's
This is
what-
actually what I
that's
was
the
saying.
issue.
But maybe it's like we just always have to point that. It's probably the answer.
Yes.
But maybe it's also that we point it so hard at this one direction and people realize this is dumb. We should stop doing it. I do think there's a point there. Look, it's May 10th. The regular season ended on April 10th. The regular season began in October. It's 8 months we've been doing this, and it's still going. The award's already been announced. What are we doing? I just hope at some point we look at the mirror and are like, why are we still talking about the goddamn
First off,
MVP?
well, I don't that. If you're talking about like because of the clicks. This is the thing. Like they find
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
I mean, that's what it is. Your initial question: have they learned anything? No, they've not. They've just
Right.
found a different vessel because LeBron James, unfortunately, is not good enough to be in it anymore. So they can't just be like, okay, well, if it's not about LeBron, like, let's make it about something
Yeah.
that is like truly based in vitriol,
a great
deep
point.
disrespect, like unbelievable.
Let's pit some
I
two
can't-
individuals against
I can't
each
believe
other.
we solved it. The MVP discussion is so toxic because LeBron James isn't here.
It's
We
a
have
million
to
percent
direct
true.
all of that.
No
It's
more
a million
comparisons
percent
to
true.
make.
It's like our dumbest conversations about LeBron are now our dumbest conversations
Yes.
about the MVP debate.
Yes.
God damn it, you're absolutely right.
I know.
Eric.
Thank you. Also,
I mean, I think I brought us here, but you
you sort of brought us in. It's like
just
you
vibing.
brought it. Yeah. You brought us to California, bro. I took us to Disneyland, my guy.
That's right.
Wow, hey, I'm with that. I'm fine with that.
And then I locked you up.
don't think that's an
Can I just say
expression.
really quickly?
Yeah.
This came up.
Also, Disneyland.
I know, not that great.
Disney
but
World, though.
but
Disney
can I?
World? Also not that
my
great in my
point.
opinion.
It's funny to me how people are now
Really
just
long
like
lines.
routinely discounting the bubble run as like it didn't count or like somehow it was less than when actually it contained the most difficult psychological element you'll ever experience in a tournament.
Yeah.
Outside of being actually locked in prison.
George Karl always does this one to me where he says like,
he's
"Oh,
like,
the
talks about
comeback.
the
Are you seeing teams come back from 3-1?" I'm like, "Yeah, but you also probably wouldn't see them fall down. Like you still would have come back to Denver and probably won."
It doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter.
The whole
It's-
thing was different.
It is completely different, but
Yeah.
you can't possibly discount it. It was so
still
much
counts,
more
yeah.
psychologically
Yeah.
heavy than any other series or we'll ever see in our lives.
Who are we rooting for in the playoffs, Eric? Who is there any? I know you're not rooting for anyone, but who would you least like to see lose?
I honestly want the Warriors to win it all. I want
Because
the
it feels
Warriors to
better.
win. by
Never
winning,
going more than 5.
Never going more than 5, sweeping, just blowing everybody out, and then you're like, hey man, listen. Like Jokic lost in the first round. We can't talk about LeBron, so we're going to relitigate the MVP.
Was it actually the
forevermore.
best MVP that's ever been?
Yeah,
won?
like somehow the Nuggets actually performed the best against the
Yeah, it really
Warriors. We just
did.
never realized
Yeah.
that until the end.
I agree. I think Warriors winning is least damaging to my myriad agendas.
I know.
If Giannis,
This is the NBA in a nutshell.
know.
We all create agendas and then have to like.
it's so dumb.
Like
That's
you
a
really don't want the
backfill, though.
Celtics to win. That's your nightmare
Oh
scenario.
my god!
I
if the
really
Celtics-
don't.
I think
Which is like
76ers is the nightmare scenario.
which is like one
I'm
of the
sorry.
most fun
Oh,
teams to
76ers
watch,
is
by the way.
the nightmare scenario.
76ers by far worse.
All
Than
right, let me
freaking-
run through my agendas, even though we just
Yeah, let's
talked
go through
about
the
how
agendas.
much
What's the
healthier
worst
the
one?
league is without them.
What's the worst
Okay,
that can happen?
I can't have the Celtics win. I just can't.
So that's your number one?
dude.
Wouldn't bother me.
It is my number one.
Wouldn't bother me other than it would. I
Number-
just know
No, I'd
the
be
worst
like,
people on
all
earth
right.
would be happy. That's the
Number
only
2
thing.
is Philly. Number 3 is Phoenix.
Yeah.
Phoenix directly correlates to my depression about the Nuggets.
Yeah.
Like their rise
Yeah, yeah.
with Denver's the rug being pulled out beneath them.
Yeah.
And then here's the thing. I don't root against this from an outcome standpoint. Like I like the Bucks. It'd be real. Giannis is awesome. It would be really hard to sit up here with a straight face and call Jokic the best player in the world if Giannis gets another Finals MVP.
Look, man, Jokic's going to become the greatest player in the league when he wins the title. Like
Yeah.
maybe as
No, I
soon
know.
as
That's
next
just how
year.
it
So
works,
for me,
yeah.
I would rather.
just said don't
here's
call
the
the
thing
best
about
player in the world, call him the MVP.
Jokic becoming the best player in the world to me. I would rather he take it than it be given to him.
All right.
You know what I mean? So like for me,
That's
I
well
don't
said.
mind if Giannis wins. Like I like Giannis.
Yeah.
What about you? Give me the worst case scenarios first. and then
Oh,
your
worst
best.
case scenario, number 1, with a bullet, the 76ers
Yeah,
win
definitely
even
is.
this round.
I know, dude.
That's the goddamn Miami Heat. Like they're not even good.
Like that, the residual effect of that will be felt for the rest of our lives, unfortunately. So that's the worst. That's the worst. Phoenix Suns, the second worst. No question. Then I don't care. The rest of it, I'm like,
That's how
okay.
I feel. That's
You know?
how I feel. I've only got 2. It's
There are
only
just
those
2 pain points. They just happen to be very hot, those pain points.
Dallas would pass Denver. Like if they beat the Suns in this round, as much as I would enjoy it because I don't want to see it, it does feel like another team that like surpasses. You're kind of like, damn, now we're chasing Dallas.
Right, but who cares? Like, at least it's a fair fight. At least it's a fair race
Yeah.
at this point. They passed us because
Same
we've been
goes for
stopped.
Memphis, but Memphis
We've been
really gets
we've been
out.
stuck in the mud, man. Everyone's gonna pass us.
Dallas could be 1 win from the trophy. I'd be up here into a mic like, just don't think they're that good. I just
You're like,
We might be that. We might be at that
I
point
know,
where we're just like,
kinda
what?
are. They're 2-2 with Phoenix.
Like it's gonna come down.
and I'm like, get these guys out.
They're
of
like,
here.
Maxi Kleber's not a player who hits 7 threes. You're like, I don't know what's going on. It doesn't make any sense.
You're like, Luka's too doughy.
All right, let's hit our final break. By the way, Kale, who in the chat? What was the chat? What was everybody going for in the chat? Nobody.
Not talking about this in the chat.
a little bit.
All right, well there we
You guys
go.
got your own thing going?
They have their own conversations.
Like someone's like, I hate Miami, Philly, and Boston. Hell yeah. Just
All
get the
right,
East
well, there you
Coast
go.
all
Just
the
the
way.
East
Yeah,
Coast.
Yeah, just the whole East
I hate
Coast.
the
They
Eastern
suck, man.
Seaboard, is
Yeah,
what
me
you're
too.
saying.
Really hate Boston. Nothing good has come out of Boston.
I like
except
Boston.
for Goodwill Hunting.
I'm a bit of
And
a
that was
no
like,
coast
okay.
bias guy myself.
well,
Had
good-
its moments. Had its moments.
Goodwill Hunting is a little bit ridiculous if you look back on it.
It's a good movie with some not good parts, but it's a really good movie. I still like. I'm not gonna shit on
It's not
it
your
too
fault,
hard.
Adam.
Not my fault. It's not your fault.
You can't watch that particular film on Ivaca TV, but you can catch
How do
your
you
local
know?
How do you
Colorado
know?
sports because they have local networks like Altitude Sports. And yeah, that's really what you wanted to hear. Did you have trouble watching the Avs and the Nuggets this season? That's a rhetorical question. You did, and you shouldn't have because those are your local teams, your taxpayers, your ticket buyers, your
And those are
merch
two
buyers.
incredible goddamn teams with
Yeah.
generational talent that all those who have kept them from us should face the wrath.
So listen, Coloradoans,
Coloradans.
Coloradoans.
Yeah, you're not one.
The Colorado
The service is now available in Denver and Colorado Springs. So go to evoca.tv/DNVR. Use promo code DNVR. You get $10 off your first 3 months.
Oh, hell yeah.
That's pretty sweet. That's only $50 per
bro.
month for the first 3 months plus receiver. Go to Evoca TV. It gets the people going.
Let's go.
Eric, if I wanted to get my hands on some
Chris Paul's mother?
Optimal's Fast Asleep products, I would go to Light Shade, Colorado's premier dispensary. They have 11 locations. And if you go to any of those locations, you can find Wana products if you need to catch up on some shut-eye after the big game. No matter when you take them, this well-rounded recipe will leave you feeling rested and refreshed in the morning.
Holy smokes.
Over-the-counter pharmaceuticals, those knock you out with powerful drugs that leave you in a fog. But not Wana.
Nope.
Optimals, Fast Asleep. Go to Lightshade and say, I listened to the DNVR podcast.
Don't make it that complicated.
Oh, wait, no? Oh, what do you have to do?
Do you scream DNVR as loud as you can?
DNVR!
And the one thing that they won't give you the discount unless they feel your hot breath on their nose.
Yeah, they want to hear you.
They want to know that you mean business.
Use your outside voices. I hope we get a call one day like, please stop.
They're like, we are being screamed at.
It's really annoying. No, just say it quietly. And they'll give you 25% off all non-sale items. Not once, not twice. Every single time that you come in.
Okay.
We back?
We're back.
All right, we back here.
Are you back?
Final segment here on the show. First of all, I wanted to ask you, so it's Coloradans. Are you a Coloradan? Would you consider yourself a Coloradan?
I don't know. Is that up to me?
It is up to you.
It's up to me. It's up to me. I've lived here my whole life. Adam has too. It doesn't matter. It's up to me. Yes, you're a Coloradan.
If you declare yourself, here's the thing.
It's like if you adopt one sports team.
No. First of all, you have to. I mean, that's part of it. Like, you have to.
You have to. But if you adopt only one sports team as your true...
I don't think you can hate any of the sports teams, though. I really don't. I don't think you can come in and be like, you know what, but I hate this one and I really this.
I think
or if you do, you could silently do it.
There's one I don't particularly care for, but I'll never tell you which one it is.
It doesn't the Nuggets.
It's the
goddamn Nuggets. Man. They just really drive me
I do
nuts.
consider this my home, for sure.
That's the thing. But part of it being a home is then you like take care of your home. I was looking at Bomani because Bomani's my favorite. He did a bit today on how California for the second year in a row has actually shrunk, not grown in population. Why?
Oh.
Well, they're all infecting the rest of the states.
Infecting.
It's true. They are infecting. You look at it; they screwed up so bad that now they're screwing up every other state's housing market. That's how bad they screwed up their own.
Yep.
Anyway, long story short, you're a Coloradan if you want to be. So all of you moving here, you can be if you want. You have to adopt it. Though.
It
you
comes
can't,
down
shit
to
where you
desire.
eat.
Yes, you can't come in and be like, and then just build California here.
Right.
And then you're not. Then you're like, you don't want to be. If you want to be part of us, we want you, bro.
The phrase
we want you. If you want to be part of us, any club. That or we're a club
that's
that
the opposite of a Freudian thing. You were about to screw that
not
up.
Not Freudian, but it's the Marx Brothers.
Well, the Marx are channeling Freud on this. What he says, I
Fair
wouldn't
enough.
want to be a part of a club that.
But that's
me as an
Groucho
owner.
Marx. That's not Sigmund Freud. Anyway, point being that
This
if
is
you want to be
unbelievable.
a member of the club shall embrace you. And if you want to foster the culture that was there, enhance it, not just stick to it entirely, but not try to wholly replace, then you are one of us, and we will welcome you with open arms.
I always feel like you don't want to rent a zip code, or I didn't want to coming here.
No.
Like I didn't want to just pay my rent and call it a day.
Right.
I wanted to take from Denver. I wanted to give to Denver.
Correct. Yeah, Vogt always gets mad and uncomfortable when I speak truths on the show. You ever notice that?
What would you do that I didn't like?
What do you,
When I started talking about infecting the
No, I
rest
just
of it, I'm
laughed.
sorry.
I
Go
thought it
look
was
at Idaho
funny.
Falls. They're having a very difficult housing crisis themselves. All
was
right, here we go.
actually, well-
Let's move on. Rapid fire. Third segment topics here, guys. Ty Lawson is joining the Big Three. Scale of 1 to 10. What's your excitement level to see Ty Lawson back on the hardwood floor? Here, not in China. He was in China for a while. Now he's back here. You're going to watch him in the Big Three. Eric?
I love Ty Lawson.
Me too, man. People don't realize this. I love him, man.
Love Ty Lawson. Like
He was great.
He would do guest appearances on the radio alongside Moj, and he was fantastic. He was super funny. He would be on TMZ telling Kobe he was going to bust their ass, and then he would do it.
He kind of had a lot of bones in him, if you know it. Like, he was like real and unguarded.
Dude,
you know what I mean? Like,
I love Tyler. Plus, he would get
He's
hot and just
funny.
like hit threes one after the. He has
So
like
quick.
the record for the most threes I think in a quarter for the Nuggets. It was like 8, or in a game. I love Tyler.
Yeah,
I would.
Ty Lawson's great.
Nothing would make me happier than to see his redemption story play out.
Big
Unfortunately,
Three?
well, I mean, some kind of redemption story because he does not deserve what has happened to him. I mean, I understand. You're going to say that his own actions obviously. But I just mean like as
a weird way to phrase that. I didn't
as a human being. Listen, he's bigger than the choices he's made. Is what I'm trying to say.
Thank God this is an off-season episode. Man.
Off-season
Anyone
episode.
outside of the market listens to
Ty
this.
Lawson. You don't really have a connection to Ty Lawson.
I don't. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not.
I have a Ty Lawson action figure.
Dude,
I have
he
a
was
Ty
fun,
Lawson
man.
jersey.
He was fun. He was funny. He was personable. He was down to earth.
I just mostly
he was not
just
a dick.
the big three doesn't really.
No, I mean the
The
big three.
big three doesn't move for you, really?
I mean, if it's on,
It doesn't
I'll
move for
watch.
me at all.
But I'm not.
Man,
scheduling
Mahmoud
my
going
day
off didn't
around.
do anything for you.
I
Was
love the
Mahmoud?
idea. of
Mahmoud
it.
with the gray, everything gray, but he looks the exact. Mahmoud looks exactly like he did in 1996. Just if you spray painted him gray.
He's
Yo,
like
you know
like
what we
you,
should
I'm
do?
sure. The same haircut.
Let's
All
build
the-
a Nuggets alumni big.
It's not even
three
an
team.
insult, Andre. What's that?
Let's build a Nuggets alumni big three team.
Kenyon
Oh.
Martin, Mahmoud, Ty Lawson is kind of small.
No, no,
Do we need a wing out there? Carmelo Anthony.
Can we get Birdman? I want Birdman.
Oh, Birdman is a perfect
He
big
is a
three.
perfect
I know.
big three player.
Screen roll. That's it.
I know.
Kenyon Martin kind of is too.
Kenyon Martin. Oh
He
man,
might get
this is
thrown out of
tough.
the big three.
Yeah.
What else we got? They can still get buckets.
Kenneth Faried could do some big three.
Could
right?
still get some buckets.
What about
man.
Marcus
He's in the G
Camby?
League.
Marcus Camby wants no part of the big three, man.
We're not asking if they want to take part in it.
Yeah.
This is our big three.
We're
How many
this on.
over under 0.5 times Marcus Camby has played basketball since retiring? It's definitely under.
You think so?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, Nate Robb. Someone said Nate Robb.
No, Nate
Oh,
Robb.
Nate Robinson. Yeah, no, he's a big three-er. Come on, but I think he's actually in the big three.
Dude,
I believe, right?
Nate Robinson
probably.
was a destructive force in the Denver Nuggets. Like I don't
Emmanuel
hate Nate
Mudiay.
Robinson, but it's like I look back at him, I'm like, that was a rough time.
Tyler Lydon, Emmanuel Mudiay. Who else is no longer in the league?
Oh, my
that was
God.
on the Nuggets very recently.
Oh,
Actually,
Faku?
you know who would be
Oh,
Jesus. You know who would actually be a good big three player? Jameer Nelson. I
Yeah.
guarantee you, Jameer Nelson would still tear up the big three.
I love Jameer Nelson.
I do too, man. I love Jameer.
Harrison
Jimmy-
says-
My favorite thing about Jameer was every single time he was asked, like, "Are you a mentor to Emmanuel Mudiay?" He's like, "I'm not here to be a mentor. I'm here to play.
That's awesome.
I'm not going to teach the. Not that I could teach this.
He
fool."
went full Joe Flacco.
He
I guess
did.
I forgot about
but
that.
But professionally, you know, I just Jameer was a pro's pro, man.
Harrison says some say I played a big role in Ty Lawson leaving Denver. Is that an inside joke?
No. So because he at the draft posted the video of Ty Lawson smoking hookah, saying, "Oh, they drafted a point guard. They're going to trade me."
yeah.
Because he was. You have to. This is what's so crazy. I'm glad you brought this up, Harrison. Because here's what's so crazy. The world. It was 2014.
Take us back.
Taking
Adam.
us way back. It sounds like it was forever ago. You know what was really weird and out of pocket? Athletes live streaming themselves.
Yeah.
Ty Lawson live streaming himself smoking hookah was scandalous. Scandalous.
Well, it was scandalous because it was also in direct opposition of the image that he had given off.
No,
entirely.
well, I think he'd also gotten a deal. Like he was on. He
That's
was
just
already
it.
fraying. He was already
just
fraying. But my point is, I remember when Gilbert Arenas back in 2006 was like blogging, and everyone's like, he should be focused on basketball, not blog. It's like, guys, Gil was just ahead of the curve on
Yeah.
like what was
Now
coming.
we're like, Bones, do you want to blog for us?
yeah, do you want to
Yeah.
blog? So anyway, you're right, Harrison. That was a very scandalous thing, which at the time now would have merely been dumb.
I know. We would have just been like, you knucklehead.
I remember even he was asked about. Tim Conley was asked about it, and he's like, "Did you see that Ty Lawson was live streaming this?" And he's like, "Yeah, you know, if you ask me what I think, I don't love it, but you know, whatever." So I remember that was what a scandalous thing, Harrison, when ruining the Nuggets or building the new Nuggets.
I don't know. I still really like.
I
Ty
do
Lawson.
think that one thing we could do for the brand is one of us could chase a star out of town. Eyes on us.
Which star? We'll talk about it.
We'll
off
talk
air.
about it. Yeah.
Juancho Hernan Gomez.
Oh, my
Trailer
God.
for his new movie fully out now. We can all see it. He stars in it with Adam Sandler. Scale of 1 to 10. How excited are we for this movie?
9.
You're a 9.
Yeah.
I'm somewhere in between. I think a 0 and a 1.
Really? That low?
I knew that was coming.
There's no way, man. There's no way. You have to, whether it's because there's different things lays to be interested. Not interested as in like I'm about to see some great cinema or be entertained, but just as in
What's
like
the one where I don't watch it?
you're not going to watch it?
I don't think so.
This is insane, right? This is insane. It's
No, it's
Juancho.
not.
You
This
don't
is
wanna
like
see
remember when
Juancho?
Space
Aaron
Jam came
Gordon's
out?
in it.
Remember when Space Jam came out? I didn't watch that
This
either.
isn't
But that
Space
didn't have.
Jam.
Did it have Nuggets? I actually
Remember when
don't
Blue
know.
Chips came out and it was the worst
Blue
movie I
Chips.
ever saw?
Oh no way! Blue Chips was not the worst movie I
Nick
ever saw.
Nolte was just drunk in
Blue
the
Chips
bayou.
was not the worst movie. Get me out of here. Blue Chips is an average sports movie. This is the.
Yeah.
5 all time.
Let's settle this.
Blue
with a
Chips is
fantasy
honestly
draft.
a 65th percentile sports movie. We're grading it on a curve,
We're
but it's not
fantasy
that bad.
drafting.
But a 65th percentile sports movie.
It's like a 40th percentile
It's like a 14 percentile
Not 14.
movie.
You're
Oh
going
my
way
God. I
too
wanna
low.
see
Blue
if
Chips is not bad.
Juancho
You can
can
watch
act.
it. Juancho, though, look, first of all, you want to talk about bad genres of sports movie. Adam Sandler, this might sound sacrilege. I don't find his movies entertaining, like even his dramatic ones. Hidden Gems, didn't think that was like some
You
great
didn't
piece
think
of
that
work.
was interesting?
Interesting? I was interested for a time.
This man watches birds.
It
get up
held
in
me
the
for a
morning.
while.
I know what happened. So you're telling me that the that gazing at a bird sitting on a perch for hours and hours is enough to keep your attention, but the high pace drama and the unknowing of what was going to happen, starring Kevin Garnett, wasn't enough to keep your
You
attention.
go birding, you don't know what you're going to see. You're not staring at one bird for
my God.
hours. You're
This is
staring at multiple birds.
This is just unbelievable.
You're
Why
actually
go
searching.
see an Academy Award nominated film when you can watch birds?
I'm just saying, I don't know that this movie is going to be necessarily great, but I
Oh,
am
I don't think it's
extremely
gonna be
excited to
good.
watch Juancho in it. I can't wait to see. I will say this: the trailer, acting was. There was like some really quick cuts on the acting, and I was kind of like,
dude,
oof.
Juancho became like even more foreign throughout the trailer. Like he became.
He like screws up the accent.
Best
We're like,
part of the
what?
trailer is he goes, Anthony Edwards goes, "Where are you from?" And he goes, "Spain." He goes, "Sounds whack." Just the entire country of Spain. Sounds whack. Like, have you never heard of
Spain?
Spain?
Heard of Spain? That's like, come
Is
on,
he
man.
describing a new place to you?
Holy
You're right.
smokes!
That was a great line. I did
Sounds
enjoy that one.
Spain sounds whack.
An AG
Dude, what
gets to
happened?
high five someone.
What if Juancho's just a great actor, man?
That's
what
what
if
I'm
he's just
saying.
like what if this
We
is his
discussed
new
this.
role?
What if we discussed this?
We
There
did?
is a chance. Well, when I say we, I always mean me and Brendan.
Okay.
We discussed that. What if Juancho Hernan-Gomez becomes the brand new Rocky for this era?
Oh, I saw that in the chat. That wasn't much of a discussion.
Yeah,
also,
well,
like, what the hell do you mean he becomes Rocky?
He becomes a story that is somebody coming from a difficult surrounding and raises
Are you
up
talking
to
about the
glory.
movie?
The movie Rocky.
No, but are you talking about this movie, Juancho's? I don't even remember
Yeah.
what it's called.
That they look at him, and that in Philadelphia, next to Rocky, they have Juancho
Oh, I see what you're
Hernan-Gomez.
saying now. That would be so great.
But he's like shooting a basket and
Yeah.
over Anthony Edwards, saying like, "That's whack."
What's the name of this episode?
This would be so.
When I upload this later.
This would be so great if the two most famous athletes to ever come out of Philadelphia are Rocky Balboa and whatever Juancho's
And
character
Juancho-
name is.
I was-
They're like 1-2 on the list of
I
all-time
hope his
great
name is
Philly
like
athletes.
just like we don't know what it is.
We probably could Google it and find out what
I hope
it
it's
is.
like super Spanish.
What would
Like,
you make it?
I was like-
Enrique? Are we doing like
like I don't know, Ponce de Leon.
I just, is it weird that like Juancho's still in the league and he's about to play a prospect that's like better than he is?
Yeah, that's
or
tough.
Ever was.
That is tough. He's going and like dunking on Anthony Edwards.
Yeah,
and then
like, you can't
And
do
then
that,
at
though.
Timberwolves practice, like Anthony
if
Edwards
we
just
game
destroying.
if
him.
we
Skip the Timberwolves
honestly if
practice
we
to film
game
this
theory
movie.
this out for Juancho, it's his best bet. Like what happened in this
I
movie?
know, yeah.
He was on the Timberwolves. He gets Anthony Edwards a big part in this role. What if it's like he stays in the league for 10 more years just because he's so connected to move to
Yeah,
Hollywood that everyone's like,
He's like Richard Jefferson.
yeah, exactly. The Lakers just keep citing him because they're like, he's
They're
going to
like, he's a player coach,
He's
right.
going to help recruit new players here.
Dude.
Juancho.
It's a whole new era, dude. It's a
I'm
whole
so
new
into
era.
this. Last topic I have here in this potpourri section. Tom Brady signed a $375 million TVD. He's had another year of playing, but then he's going to start a 10-year, $375 million. He is going to make more money broadcasting than he will as a player, at least from his salary. Here's what's crazy to me, guys. I've had like various Nate Jones, one of the best follows on all basketball Twitter. He's like an industry. He's the guy that like NBA business or sports business. He gets it. He says this deal is not for the audience. This deal is for advertisers because advertisers are going to say, "Ooh, I could be an ad partner for the Tom Brady Monday Night Football crew or whatever it is that he ends up doing," and they will pay more money, even though the return from an audience perspective will be negligible. And I thought this makes a lot of sense. But it also got me thinking this. Earlier this week, we saw Draymond Green going, I don't even remember, Mad Dog, whatever Mad Dog is, because Mad Dog had like some pretty racially coded comments that he was saying, and he went at him saying, hey, something to the effect of, welcome to the new media, we're taking over. Us as athletes are taking over. And I thought there's a lot of athletes now have the ability to sort of take over some territory. in two different ways. One, Draymond Green, the Self podcast, which is fantastic. I'm a big fan of it. The other is Tom Brady signing this $500 million deal, or almost $500 million deal, to be a broadcast partner. I actually do think this is, we don't realize it yet, I actually do think these are a bit of a watershed moment for how media works in particular when you see that kind of money being thrown around.
Well, it just it first off shows you how much money is involved in this world.
Yeah.
In general, is that money like that can be given to one person.
You know, and Joe Buck was like, I negotiated $1.5 million. Is he really 300 times better than me?
But what it means is that the pool of money that is at the top of the deer tick is just so unfathomable. It really is. It goes to Rupert Murdoch.
Yeah, Kale, that's more than he made in any given year playing football, correct? Yeah. The annual value.
By a good margin.
By a good margin.
Yeah, but the other thing is that
more than double, I think.
What that guy said about it, Nate Jones, said about it being
for
the advert. Well, listen, it's a tough name if you don't know who it is. But the point, it being for the advertisers is true at first, but that becomes the cachet is removed if the broadcast is not good. RK believes that he will not be good. I think he'll be good. Tom Brady, he's shown himself. He's been on the match that golf show where he was.
That's right.
Yeah. And he had I would say a human-like quality to him that I found reasonable to endure.
It's funny because he's maybe the least accessible human. He's right up there in the top 1%.
He probably drinks child blood in the morning.
Well, the other thing is that Kale mentioned that his supermodel wife is also a billionaire.
They have a lot of money, yeah.
So why? What is he doing? What is the end game? Is Tom Brady looking to buy the
universe? What he's doing? He's doing exactly what the F he wants to do, which is awesome. This is the point. If you
spend time with his family,
but I'm saying
circumstances.
But I'm saying
honestly, we're talking about he works 17 weeks a year, at this new job. Bad. It's actually the greatest job ever. Are you kidding me? If I could pick one job, it would be actually 17 days of work.
I actually did this job and I'm doing this job right now without getting paid.
Yeah,
so
right.
Maybe I understand what Tom Brady's all
about. You actually get it now.
You just lumber in here.
$375.
No one asked you.
I would take $370.
I think it's going to frame the conversation for sports media for years to come. This athlete takeover, the value athlete voices have in this, but also the limitations. And Draymond Green, phenomenal.
Yep.
He really gets it on a lot of levels. He's not perfect. Nobody is. No one perspective is the correct perspective. You need a lot of different perspectives, in my opinion.
Eric's is close.
To have more
pretty close to perfect perspective.
So the Nietzsche line, with more eyeballs you can look at the thing, the more complete your objectivity can become. I honestly think that's how it is. That's why Draymond provides maybe the most perspective.
That's why flies
he gives
an
athlete ones. He has good analyst voice. He has all these different perspectives he can give, but he's not the only one. I think we're going to see some real positives, some real negatives from that athletes starting to give, because athletes have been really bad and not bad at sharing perspective, but also not compelling. How many times have you read a terrible Players Tribune story?
Here's the problem with the athlete perspective is that you think that the hockey community is gatekeepy.
Right, yeah, it's so true.
The athletes refer to it as it's our game.
Yeah, yeah.
Our perspective is correct. They have a feeling that doing and observing are equal, which is not true. One is what a scientist does. The other one is what a larva does. It doesn't mean that they understand everything that's happening in the world.
That's a great line.
But it gives perspective on things that are larger than them. Sometimes you don't understand. Michael Jordan doesn't understand how other players can't be good like he is because he doesn't know what he doesn't know. And he doesn't have a multitude of eyes.
What's funny is Charles Barkley is great, not necessarily because he gives great insight into what it's like to be a player. He's just great as a personality.
He's a hilarious guy.
He's a great personality.
His player anecdotes are actually the worst part. He doesn't understand that the league has changed. He just doesn't comprehend
every time you watch those guys, they're when they get down to it, man, that guy's soft. And you're like, all right.
The other day, Chuck gave bad advice on how to land in midair. Just the opposite advice that a trainer would give you. He's like, don't try to catch yourself. Just fall on your back. And you're
like, what? On your back.
He said that on the air. And everyone's going, you know what? This is great. I love Chuck.
Go with it. Just go with it.
He's so good. I think Draymond does provide the most, of all of these things, but even he is limited. And even he has takes sometimes that I'm just like, dude, no. But it's just how it works.
Yeah, I just think you're good or you're not. I don't think we're ever going to...
Completely.
Matisse Thybulle made that great documentary in the bubble because he's a talented film editor.
Right.
Somehow.
Right. It's not...
Troy Daniels made one.
Player.
It was all right.
Yeah,
Zamora King, I imagine walking through D-Line's head is like walking through Meow Wolf.
that's probably true.
Not that. I mean, there's fewer kids.
Dream.
The Players Tribune point is important though. I remember when that started, and I remember is this going to change everything? And it didn't. It just wasn't good enough.
Right.
It never replaced anything.
I think what happened was you had some very authentic and natural ones, and then you had the guys that are like, I want to be like that.
Yeah.
Let's write that authentic piece of me where I look cool.
Right.
And it's like, well, you're not cool. So I can't hold the mirror up to you because it's kind of ugly.
I don't know what to tell you.
I looked at you when I said that, didn't I?
I did, like deep into my eyes.
Yeah, I didn't mean to. But
Felt
subconsciously
It
maybe.
really felt like it was going so.
So Eric, you hated this show? I thought it was a good one.
This show, it was like walking through Meow Wolf. It was my kind of show.
It's like walking
definitely
through-
our most cancelable show of the offseason.
No question.
Well, it's the first of many. Thanks everybody for watching. We have a super chat. We came in from Pavel Dokic or Dokic. I don't know. I think it's Dokic. Can you do the Jokic fit table again? What's this?
It's the bit we did yesterday.
I don't remember.
It was a
What is it?
disaster. Our segment 3.
where we decide who fits alongside Jokic, and
Jesus.
every player that's
The
played
tier
with him
list.
has been just absolutely torn to shreds.
Chat was
I know.
thoroughly disgusted with us.
It was a tough look. I stand by it. We did a bad job of it.
Yeah, we did.
But I stand by it as I feel like I learned something from failing at that.
I don't even think we failed at it. I just think that everyone is good next to Jokic, and it just
This is part of this complication
what it is
of
that it just shows you that the Nuggets have been running with some like pretty subpar pieces,
Yeah.
which we don't like to admit. But I think I just did.
On that note, hit the like button on the way out, everybody. We'll see you guys tomorrow.